you want to start understanding your body and your menstrual cycle more, it's important to start from the beginning. Anatomy sounds boring, I know, but this is your body. We should all be empowered to get to know our bodies and understand our menstrual cycle more. The female reproductive system is truly amazing. Your anatomy holds the power to love, to orgasm, to grow and to birth another human being. So stay with me as I teach you the structures and hormones that make your menstrual cycle possible. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you would like to be notified every time I release a new video about women's hormonal health and period problems and what we can do about them. As a naturopath, I've been treating women's hormonal complaints for 10 years now. It's always important to start from the beginning for true learning and understanding. I'm excited to get back to basics with you so you can better understand your body and your menstrual cycle. Today, I am going to go through the anatomy and the structures of the female reproductive system, and I will also introduce you to the hormones of this system. The anatomy I'll be introducing you today is here up on the board. So we will go through the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary, which is in the brain. We will then go through the ovary, the follicle, which holds the egg, your fallopian tubes, the uterus, the endometrium, cervix, vagina, and of course, the vulva. There are 5 hormones that we'll learn about today. We will go through gonadotropin releasing hormone, which we will call GnRH. We will learn about follicle stimulating hormone, which is also known as FSH. Then we come down to luteinizing hormone, also called LH. And then we have estrogen and progesterone. Please understand that there are more components, cells, enzymes and hormones that are involved in this process. But for us everyday menstruators, I feel like it keeps it basic enough to understand the process and not too complicated to overwhelm. So let's get into it. It might seem strange to you that I'm starting with our brain, but this is actually where hormonal communication begins. So here we have our brain, and this next section is the hypothalamus. And just below the hypothalamus, we have the anterior pituitary gland. Now, it is the hormones from the anterior pituitary gland that control our reproductive hormones and our system. These two structures, the hypothalamus and the anterior pituitary gland, are the master control for your period hormones. So the hormonal cycle begins with gonadotropin releasing hormone, or GnRH, which is secreted by the hypothalamus. This then signals to the anterior pituitary gland to produce either follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, or luteinizing hormone, LH. Before puberty, GnRH is released at a steady rate, and after puberty, it is released in pulses. It is the frequency and the strength of these pulses that determine how much FSH or how much LH will be secreted by the anterior pituitary. This absolutely blows my mind. Just by the change in consistency in the pulses results in different hormones being released. Both these hormones, FSH and LH, they signal to the ovaries and they actually tell the follicles what to do next. You have 2 ovaries, one on each side of your uterus, and within the ovary you have many developing follicles, and these will grow and mature each month, and each follicle contains an egg that will go on to be ovulated and possibly fertilized by a sperm. So FSH, which is follicle stimulating hormone, it does exactly what it says it will do. It stimulates the follicles within the ovaries to grow, and as they grow and mature, they produce estrogen. So even though there are many follicles in the ovary, only one will go on to be the dominant follicle, which will be the one to eventually release the egg. So the estrogen that the follicles produce, it feeds back to the brain via the bloodstream, and when estrogen reaches a certain peak level, this will cause the release of luteinizing hormone from the anterior pituitary. This will go on to cause ovulation. And ovulation is where the follicle ruptures and the egg is released into the fallopian tubes. You have 2 fallopian tubes, one that extends from the right and one that extends from the left of your uterus. These 10 centimeter muscular tubes reach out to the ovaries to collect the eggs. These tubes have microscopic hairs which help the egg move towards the uterus. Once ovulation has occurred, this remaining follicle goes on and transforms into another gland which is called the corpus luteum, and it is the corpus luteum that produces the ever so important progesterone, and it also produces estrogen as well. And as the progesterone is being produced, the egg is traveling down the fallopian tubes, making its way into the uterus and into the endometrium. So your endometrium is the lining of your uterus, and in response to hormones estrogen and progesterone, each month this thickens and it prepares a home for a potential pregnancy. And if no pregnancy occurs, your hormones estrogen and progesterone will decline, which causes the lining of the uterus or your endometrium to shed, and it comes out your vagina, and you see this as your period. Before moving on, I might just recap what we've learned so far. So your hypothalamus secretes GnRH, which tells the anterior pituitary gland to release follicle stimulating hormone, which stimulates the follicles to grow. They then produce estrogen, and as estrogen reaches a peak level in the blood, this causes the release of LH, luteinizing hormone. So luteinizing hormone triggers ovulation, and the follicle that used to hold the egg, it now transforms and becomes the corpus luteum, which can now go on to produce progesterone. If pregnancy doesn't occur, estrogen and progesterone levels decline, which signals to the brain to repeat this process all over again. How are you finding this information so far? If you're learning new things, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. And if you do have any questions, pop them in the comment section below so I can answer them or possibly create future videos from your questions. Now, this cycle is repeated from puberty to menopause until, of course, you choose to try to fall pregnant. Of course, there are a few structures we haven't covered yet. Now, I didn't think my drawing could do the cervix or the vulva enough justice, so I'll use this instead. So next you have the cervix, which is this section here. Now, the cervix is at the end of your vagina, but at the bottom part of the uterus. So the cervix allows blood and sperm to pass through, and of course, this is the part that will stretch, thank goodness, 10 centimeters during childbirth. So your cervix also produces cervical fluid. You might know this as vaginal discharge or vaginal mucus. And this can be seen at certain times in your underwear or sometimes when you wipe on the toilet paper. And it is this substance which allows the sperm to survive for 5 days in your reproductive tract before fertilization. The cervix is also the place that the doctors will check for abnormal cells during your pap smear. Next in line is your vagina. Now, this 10 to 15 centimeter muscular structure extends from your vulva all the way to your cervix. Its elastic nature allows it to stretch during sexual intercourse and childbirth, thank goodness. And of course, this is the passage where menstrual blood will flow as well as cervical fluid. And today we will finish with the vulva. The vulva barely gets any mention, the vagina gets all the credit. But as we learned earlier, the vagina is the passage from the vulva to the cervix. All of the anatomical bits that are external to the vagina is what we call the vulva. The vulva includes the mons pubis, the labia, the external and the internal, or the majoris and the minoris. It includes the clitoris, the urethral opening, and the vaginal opening. The vulva gives life during childbirth, but it also has the sexual function of providing pleasure. So I think we all need to give her a little bit more respect. And there you have it. We have gone through the main hormones and the structures and the organs of the female reproductive system. I hope this empowers you to learn more about your body and how truly amazing it is. Be sure to check out my next video, The Menstrual Cycle Explained. Here I will expand on the information today, but also add the phases and stages of the menstrual cycle. And I'll put the link in the description box below.